Folks, welcome to the show. I am so excited. I am forgetting to mention my name. So, gonna take that again. We're doing great. That's a wrap. All right.
No, sir. No, sir.
We are not that kind of show. We will not resort to cheap laughs.
Should kick me off right now.
Making sure my stuff's all staged.
We're going over five cars, right?
5 cars-ish.
Okay,
Wait, what?
let's stick to 5.
If you got them, let's stick with 5.
I don't have any. Y'all, this is all y'all.
That's fine.
You don't have any, David?
I don't have cars. What are you talking about?
The show's about cars?
I don't have any cars. Don't throw to me and expect cars.
It's fine. You can talk about...
It's not a visual medium half the time anyway.
Talk about rascal scooters for all week, Aaron. I don't...
Save it for the show.
Oh, I do have... Give 1 second here. Let me at least grab one of them that I want to show. Calm down. Go back to sleep.
Well, he's taking it.
Yeah.
Go back to sleep, David. Changing my mind. I just changed my mind on a car. I'm going to get one off of here. Just changed my mind.
You know what? I don't even have movie stuff.
See, you guys would be proud of me today. Like, I put this whole questionnaire and cars and everything.
Wait a minute. What?
Printed all that out.
I put a bunch of stuff on the Google Doc. I just didn't have any of the cars.
I didn't put anything on the Google Doc.
I thought we were looking at upcoming stuff.
Do you want me to send you one of these Diecast Hero magazines?
Yeah, I would love one of those. I would think maybe about framing that. Just using it like wall art in my office.
Yeah, I mean, once you read through it, I mean, you could put it like in a case that the door opens and closes so you can take it out when you need to go poop.
Shadow box.
This is a great poop magazine.
And we're back. Chuck stumbling over the... Wait,
there it is.
Yeah, just getting lost. Never see him again.
Sun's out, guns out.
Are you good?
All right, for real this time. Gotta have visual aid for the to tease the upcoming. All right, so we will be back in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're watching Diecast Breakdown with Chuck Ellis, David Johns, and Mark McHotwheel. So sit back, strap in, and hang on. The breakdown starts now.
Hey there, folks. Chuck here, and welcome to the show. I am joined, as always, by my wonderful co-hosts, Mr. David Johns and Mr. Mark McHotwheel. How are we doing today?
Doing good,
Phenomenal.
Chuck.
Phenomenal.
I am so excited. We have a very special guest today, Fireball Tim Lawrence, the legendary Hollywood designer, the head of design for Diecast Heroes. He's a contributor there. He's a partner. He does all sorts of amazing charity work. He does these legendary coloring books for folks like Magnus Walker and Dennis Gage and Tony Dow of Leave It to Beaver fame. And he's really at the epicenter of California car culture and really just worldwide car culture now with Diecast Heroes and Superfly Auto. We're going to get to that as soon as we can, but real quick, guys, I just wanted to take a minute and see what's exciting you in the world of Diecast.
Anybody see the new Matchbox Golf Rabbit Mark 1? I think it's the first casting coming out for that. You can check that out on T-Hunted. That is an Instagram account that has a lot of previews. It's a really cool 1976 Golf Rabbit. If you guys are curious, also, for you guys that are part of the Hot Wheel Collectors Club, they've got a post, I believe, as of a couple days ago, of the new Kroger exclusives that are coming out. So if you guys are interested in those variants and seek out those harder to find store exclusives, you can get a peek at the 2022 Kroger exclusives. We got a Grand National Buick 91 Cyclone. They're redoing the custom 18 Drift Ford Mustang and the Lancia Integrale. It's going to be in red. So those are things to keep your eye out for in the future.
Man, the only thing I really care about and I've been paying attention to lately is just the Cato House, the new variation of colors that are coming out. They've got a blue one and what's the other color? The green, and then they've got a BRE one. I'm planning on pre-ordering those soon, and I think they don't come out till the springtime. But man, that is really the only thing that I'm focused on right now is those.
Just clarify with the listeners and the viewers.
Mini GT.
These are listed as 164 on a lot of sites, but they're a little
Yeah,
bigger than that, aren't
they're
they?
not. Yeah, they
Okay.
are. They're definitely bigger, and I think they've admitted that they're not to scale necessarily. They went off track a little bit, but I think there's a lot of like cool design in that. We're gonna talk to a designer here shortly, and it's cool to see another designer, June Mai, have his fingertips in these cars, his own personal car. So pretty cool. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, that's about all I've been focused on at the moment.
I know Chuck's got plenty for us.
I do. I follow M2 is this little brand that it's not a little brand, but it's this one that even as much as I like them, even I sometimes go, oh, right. M2 is because they've got this really awesome way of building their cars that they're really like tiny model kits.
Yeah.
And I love that about them. I love that they all come with Phillips head screws attached. They are designed to be taken apart and modified and stuff. And while they don't have the largest amount of casting offerings, they do still have a lot of really cool treatments that they have to their cars. They do gasser versions, and they do 4x4 versions and lowrider versions. And every now and then they come out with a new casting. They don't really have the range that a big company like a Hot Wheels can or a Greenlight can, where they have a bunch of different castings that come out. But M2 has got a new one coming out that I am very excited about. It's a 1988 to 1998 Chevy truck casting. So this is the follow-up to the iconic Chevy square body truck. When I grew up, it didn't feel like anything special because the square bodies were like where it was at for me, like growing up in the previous C10 design. And now I've got this fondness for that 88 to 98 version because that's the one that I grew up with. And they're going to do a lowrider version and a 4x4 version that's awesome. It's got a really awesome custom chassis to it. It's got the snorkel. It's got all kinds of really cool attachments to it. So it looks like this off-roading machine. I'm very excited about that. They've also got a really cool looking 32 Ford Roadster coming out with a soft top. And they've got the pre-production mock-ups made for that. And if it looks anything like the mock-ups with the exposed engine and there's a lot of small parts, that's something I'm really excited about. And they've announced a 4x4 chassis for their little scrunched up bus, which looks really awesome and wild and out there. They're turning 15 this year.
Yeah.
So they've got a special show that they're announcing out in Ontario on June 10th through 12th. It's a 3-day long thing. They're going to have some exclusive designs there, including the Colonel Square Body, which is one of my favorites of theirs as well. This super wild slammed Chevy C10 with no bed and no hood, and it's got crazy air intake coming out of the hood. It's a really cool design. But that's one I'm really excited about. Matchbox has their moving parts series that I am super eager to have appear on the shelf because it's got a Subaru Brat, and that's one of my favorite cars. And they've also got the 88 Monte Carlo, which I'm really excited about as well. And we're still going through this weird desert island effect with our local diecast where the shelves had nothing on them.
Right.
And these were literally the only things on the shelf the other day when I went in. I was able to get the whole set. I don't know why I've only got 4 of them. Where's the other one? There it is.
Lost it already.
There's the Prelude. And even then, the only one of these that they had was it's smashed on the card. But I don't mind because I'm going to crack them anyway. But yeah, really excited about the modern classic set, the 98 Prelude in a premium version. And it looks just like Ryu's family Prelude that this was based on. The Nissan 300ZX twin turbo. We've got the Mitsubishi 3000 GTV R4, which I know David said he was very excited about. And I was able to, they had 2 of these and I was able to get 2 of them. And you got the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 6 and the odd German car, the 92 BMW M3. It's so nice to see a lot of these that are pre-existing designs in premium castings. And they have the new Mercedes set out, the Transporter that has the Gullwing 300 and a couple of other beautiful cars, the Sauber Mercedes C9 and the 2016 Mercedes AMG GT3. But I just love that Gullwing design. And it's in that beautiful cream color with the blue stripes. Just a beautiful setup. And you've got the carry-on, which is not my favorite Transporter, but I do love that bed on the back of it. It's a great platform for customs, which is something that I enjoy doing. So those are the things that I'm really excited about. I noticed that Greenlight has a few new things coming out. I got briefly excited because they announced a Terminator 2 1984 Freightliner truck, the truck that the T-1000 chases them through the LA canals in, which is one of my favorite car chases ever because they make that truck look 20 feet tall.
Right.
And unfortunately, it is currently only in 1/43rd scale. I'm hoping they bring those to 1/64 because there's not really a lot of true in-scale big rigs. Greenlight has a few of them. I love their garbage truck casting. It's funny to have an actual true 1/64 scale garbage truck and put it next to a Hot Wheels or Matchbox garbage truck and go, oh, these things are massive.
Exactly.
And as well, I really like that they're doing a Hell Driver series. Basically, all the Tournament of Thrills, Hell Driver, Daredevil car shows of the 60s and 70s and 80s, where they would haul in a trailer full of Plymouth Dusters and they'd do a bunch of crazy two-wheel driving and driving through fire and stuff. They're taking a bunch of existing castings, including like the 67 Chevy Impala. The Supernatural Impala is going to be a Chitwood's Daredevil's car. They've got the Dodge Challenger convertible is going to be a Cokeman Hell Driver, and the 49 Ford for the Tournament of Thrills. I love the over-the-top designs that they would have on those things, and the fact that these would just be this thing that would travel through towns like a fair and entertain people by doing wild stuff with cars. And just love that whole concept.
I've got two questions
Sure.
for you guys. Let's do it in rapid fire format. First
Yeah,
question. Both of you guys, is the newest Modern Classic set that Chuck just showed the best Hot Wheels 5-car top to bottom set that's come out in a while? Top to bottom.
I would say yes.
1 through 5? Yeah. There's not a
In
donut.
a while,
the only
yeah.
one.
In a while, yeah. Definitely not the best
Yeah.
by any means, but in a while.
My second question for both of you guys.
David,
Can
I wasn't
we
done
all-
yet. I wasn't done yet.
I'm sorry. This is burning on my heart.
Okay.
Can we all
We'll
commit?
circle back around.
Can we all commit to the road trip on June 10th through the 12th when M2 executives watch this podcast and invite us to the birthday party? Yes or no?
Hey, if they're serving cake, I'm there.
You hear that? We'll be there.
Cake. We'll be there.
Okay. Now,
There's no
Mark,
cake. We're not going to be there. David, I was going to say, the only thing that was super disappointed about that set is that there was no Saturn SL. I was hoping that there would be there. One review mirror, plastic fenders.
Don't tease me. Don't you dare tease me.
Yeah. So it's a friendly reminder because David's called out to the people before for all the 3D printers out there, the guys that are making these chassis and the whole shell, the whole car. He needs a Saturn. Help the guy out. He needs a Saturn. I saw one on the freeway today. You know who I think of when I see a Saturn? The
I know
blown
who
up
you do.
fender. It's the fender literally blew off the car. Instead of cracking or bending, it just
That fender is plastic, so you can
so
punch
it's
a hole in
boom.
it. And it's white, but let me just remind you, it's not the fancy one with the color match bumper. It's the black textured bumper.
It comes with nothing. I'm surprised it even came with tires.
$79.99 off the lot, brand new.
That's amazing.
That was $79.79.
And they paid you.
That
to
might be
take
too
it.
much. Yeah,
That's
that
right.
might be too much.
That was per
Remember-
cylinder.
One more
Anyways.
thing, in hunting news, for those of you out there that are looking for new places to find diecasts, Greenlight has announced a partnership with Pilot Truck Stops, where they will
Nice.
be
Big news.
featuring Greenlight vehicles from everything from the Hollywood sets to the Super Duties to the hitch and hauls. Will be at 75 different Pilot locations across the United States. You can find those in the Greenlight website, and we'll link to that in the show notes. One of the locations is Knoxville, Tennessee, so I am sending my brother over there to look for one, because the nearest one to me is like Dade City, Florida, which is 5 hours away.
The place around here, I believe.
Yeah, so you got to check that out, because that's your word to the wise if you're a hunter out there. That is a new place to look for Greenlights.
Listen, I hope no scalpers are listening.
Yeah, no scalpers.
Plug your ears,
Scalpers, no scalping.
Yeah.
Scalpers, no scalping.
Yeah, Dora.
We're going to take a quick break here. And before we get to our special guest, Fireball Tim, we are going to come right back and talk a little bit about Hollywood Diecasts. So stick around.
We'll be back with more Diecast Breakdown after this word from our sponsors. Here's this week's small channel shoutout.
Irie Fix Diecasts.
If you have a favorite Diecast channel with less than 700 subscribers and you'd like to see them highlighted on a future episode, email us at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. Hey kids, want to own one of Fireball Tim's coloring books? How about your very own copy of his original Batmobile design, autographed by Fireball himself? Leave a comment using the word autograph on the YouTube version of this episode. You could win one of these two amazing prizes. Two winners will be announced on the episode of this show airing February 27, 2022. Here's today's Diecast Breakdown question. How do you store and display your diecasts? Send your ideas to diecastbreakdown@gmail.com along with some photos of your process. You could be featured on a future episode of Diecast Breakdown. We'd like to take a moment to thank our executive producer level patrons, First and 64th Customs, Video Geek Productions, Matchbox Mark, Jonathan Von Nesch, and Donald Rashik. Please stick around till the end of the episode for our full list of partners and learn how you can support this project at diecastmedianetwork.com. And now back to Diecast Breakdown.
Alrighty, we are back. We've got a ton of visual aids, so sorry to the audio listeners. You can check it out over at YouTube and watch the video portion of the show, but we will be as descriptive as we can in this next section. So today's topic is the world of Hollywood on diecast wheels. And for me growing up, I always had the Herbie the Love Bug Beetle to look up to, the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am, Dodge Charger on the Dukes of Hazzard. There were a lot of cars that I loved, and being able to have those as toy vehicles was always just a dream come true to me, to have a little piece of that Hollywood history. And we're really excited that our guest today has experience actually making cars that you know and you love, and that have also appeared as diecasts. So before we get to him, we just wanted to go around and talk about our experience with Hollywood on diecast wheels.
I'm going to start out with a little bit of Fast and the Furious. I'm in your face. And we've got the Fast and the Furious box set that has the white Jetta Jesse, which I am trying to get on the podcast. I hope you guys know that. Jesse? Yeah, the close friend Jesse that I don't know, but I know somebody that knows him. I know a guy that knows him that's heard of him.
You know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah, so yeah, you've got the white Jetta, I'm so scared right now. And then we've got the hauler there. Then we've got the Challenger right there, which our next guest is driven. I watched him in a YouTube episode driving this specific car, or as I like to say, Pacific car. And then we've got the iconic Fast and Furious Supra, the Smoke. We got the whole set here. So for me, when this thing came out, I was going to Walmart every day to get this, and I finally found it. The box sets, when they do it right, because we're not all excited about the box sets because everybody likes their own thing. But when these came out, and of course when the Datsun ones came out, I was really after these. So it's a prized treasure of mine for sure. So we've got that, and then one that I don't have in my hand, so I'm going to have to describe it to you guys anyways, is the Gone in 60 Seconds GT500 Greenlight. And I don't even have the car. I just recently realized that it existed. I didn't even really look into it until recently. I've watched that movie probably 500 times, and I'm not exaggerating. I've literally fallen asleep to that movie literally since I was in high school. Even during like the beginning of COVID, I fall asleep to it. It's therapeutic. It's like David's voice. That's a must. I'm going to pick it up, but that thing's very cool. I love the GT500. I believe Fireball had his hand in that car too, correct? Or am I right?
He did.
Yeah. So that's very cool. So that's very fitting. Then we have the mystery machine here because we've got Scooby-Doo. I don't know what it is about this car, but whenever I see it, I just got to have it. So just like Datsun's. But they had a Super Treasure Hunt version in Hot Wheels 2. But when this came out, a little bit more obtainable, $7, much easier to find than a overpriced Super Treasure Hunt out there from years ago. And then the next one I have on my list is the 66 Batmobile. And then the R34 Premium that came out this year, Paul Walker. That's awesome. I plan on owning this car someday. That's a fun fact. We'll see if that happens. But maybe this podcast will turn into something amazing and win a free R34.
I bet a viewer will send one to you.
Possibly, yeah, the real car. Yeah, possibly.
Perhaps.
You never know.
This was a tough one for me. You guys know I like my street and stock versions, and I don't really jump on entertainment stuff just for that aspect of it. I've got a few. In fact, I want to give a shout out real quickly to Rob at Scale Enthusiasm. He sent me the coolest Greenlight diorama of the Blues Brothers. You get 4 Chicago city police cars and the Blues Brothers Bluesmobile, the old, I don't know what you call it, retired police car that came with it. So it's a 5-car set. That's one of the few entertainment pieces I have, but there are some things coming out that I'm pretty excited about, guys. The Mustang, or excuse me, what was in the Gone in 60 Seconds? What, GT 500?
500.
Chevy
Yep.
GT 500, yeah.
The president of Greenlight selected that car to do in 118 because that's one of his favorite movies of all time. We've got a picture of it that you'll see here. It is looking really good. If you guys haven't dabbled in 118, and I haven't, but I have looked at them and they are phenomenal. And this one looks to be an amazing casting. Chuck had mentioned that T2 Terminator, the tow truck earlier. Right now, we don't know if it's just in 1/43rd scale, but you can tell by the picture here, it is fantastic. Keep an eye out for that. That's coming out in May of 22. And last, the Series 10, guys, for the Hitch and Tow series from Greenlight has some winners. There is a Rocky set that's got a Cadillac. It's got an old C10 truck I know Mark would like, as well as a trailer with Rocky on the side, little deco there for you on that. There's also a set for Pawn Stars and the Rookie, and the cars are amazing. You can see the pictures here. We'll stagger them and pick out the one you like, or grab all 3, because I think I might have an eye out to pick up all 3 of them. I don't know. They look really good.
It's pretty much no secret at this point that I love Hollywood diecasts. I've been collecting them for years. I've got a rotating display case that's got several hundred Hollywood cars in it. So it was really tough for me to narrow it down to just 5. And I actually strayed from my beloved 164 in this list. So we're going to have to bear with me here. But we are going to start things off. David mentioned, and I agree with him, that set is fantastic. I do have it. Here's the Bluesmobile from that set.
There you go.
Now, the reason why I love this one so much is Greenlight gets it right when it comes to the details. And they're the only people I've noticed that with this set and with the 118th one, it's missing the back window, because by the time it had the speaker attached to the roof, the good old boys had shot out the back window. So they got this down to even making sure that this car has a unique glass in it so that it's missing the back window, which I thought was really cool. And the 118 scale is gorgeous as well. Like, it's even, they've gone down to the things that were on the dashboard, like the crushed cigarette packs and the driver's license and stuff. Those are replicated on the dashboard of the 118 scale version. My number 2 is Christine. This is from Auto World, but I do want to give an honorable mention to this is the Hot Wheels version. The Hot Wheels version is very nice. Real riders with the white wall tires. This looks like Christine the day that she left the factory, although she does have the license plate on her. And then Auto World blew my mind with the set that they've got out now. I've got 2 of them. I've got the final version with the heavily tinted windows. So they said when they designed it for the movie, they wanted it so that you couldn't tell if Arnie was driving or if Christine was driving. I thought that was very clever and a nice and easy way to get around having your stud driver in the car.
Right.
But this one, the way it's shown when Arnie picks up the car, and they did a really good job of replicating the weather-beaten look on it. Unfortunately, they did not create a casting with dents in it, but it does have good paint to replicate where the dents would be. It does display well with the hood partway cocked open like it looks in the show. They did a really good job of fogging the glass on it. Really great, even down to having the proper for sale sign in the back window. So Auto World, again, rocking it out, just like Greenlight is with these cars and getting the details. Next on the list is Smokey and the Bandit, which is my favorite movie of all time. I'm so excited it's coming into theaters this year. I am going to go see it theaters for the 45th anniversary. So we're going to start off. Racing Champions really knocked it out of the park with their version of it. Greenlight has done an amazing version of it too, and they actually have the right license plates and stuff on it, but Racing Champions was there first and did it extremely well in I believe this was the early 2000s when they released this one. I've had this one for a very long time. But then Greenlight, not to be outdone, did this awesome Smokey and the Bandit 2 Trans Am, getting it right even down to having Bandit's name painted on the door. My previous one that I had was the Matchbox version, which they tried their best. It's just, it's not a great casting to get to start with. And then they had this thing where they wanted to put the name of the show on the cars. And I get it. That was the thing at the time. This was the late 90s. The Brady Bunch car has the Brady Bunch logo on the hood. And it's a Mercury Sable for some reason. And the MASH Jeep has the word MASH on it. And the Adam 12 car has Adam 12 across the top. And I'm like, okay, fine. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we get it.
And it's tricky. Oh, also props to Greenlight for getting the proper Buford T Justice car. Because before that, we had Ertl with a 1980 Pontiac Bonneville that was several years off from this actual one. But to get it with that proper metallic root beer, absolutely gorgeous. My next but not least, I love this Jurassic Park casting from Matchbox that they released a few years ago. It is the crushed version of Explorer number 4 from the series that had the T-Rex bash through the top. So they actually mashed the casting, and me and my love of purposely damaged and mashed cars. So this one was right up my alley. It's one of the few cars that I've actually shelled out money for on eBay to the tune of, I think I paid $14 for it just because, which I know for me, that's a lot.
Money.
But I just had to have this one, and I just absolutely love it. But finally, the car that my brother and I grew up with, Herbie the Love Bug, I've got so many different versions of it. I've got the Hallmark version, the Christmas ornament, which was great. It's not quite the right year.
Nah.
The font isn't quite right on the bug. They got the wheels right. There was an even smaller version that they did that's basically an in-scale version. That was very cool. But nobody has ever really gotten Herbie right. Even Hot Wheels, much as we love them, their version was like a 57 bug. It's not the right white. It's not the right font. They didn't have the sunroof on it. The premium version did, but it wasn't great. What killed me was Matchbox at the same time was releasing this car, which is their 62 Beetle, and they released it in a premium. It's white. It's got the gray top. It's even got the raised white letter Goodyear Eagles on it. I'm like, I know what you're doing, Matchbox. I see you over there. And I've had this car. I've been sitting on it for so long, and I'm going to one day turn it into a Herbie. Oxford, which is a company out of, I believe, Germany or UK, I think, actually. Yeah, you're right, UK. They did an unlicensed version of Herbie that actually got the font, but gave it a European license plate. So it was like so close.
Nobody
they got
can get it
a
right.
176 scale, and they did an in-scale version, and both of them got the font. But then Hot Wheels Elite comes along, and they blow it out of the water, and they come out with this 1/18th scale, and this is the one from Herbie the Love Bug. And yeah, great color. It's the pearlescent gray that Herbie was. They got all the details right, down to not having the VW logo on the hood because they didn't have the licensing rights from VW to use it, even though VW did cash in on it and do several ads about how their car was going to be in the movie. This thing has everything opens on it. You've got the racing seatbelts, the gas can, the Tennessee uses in the back is in it. The opening hood, the opening front trunk reveals a spare tire that is pre-cut, like the villain of the movie cuts their spare tire. So they get the spare tire, their wheel knocked off. And there's a scene. So there's a scene where they go to put the spare on and the spare is cut into pieces. Yeah. And so they even got that detail right. Then they did the Monte Carlo version, which has, they changed the stripes from Herbie the Love Bug with its bright blue to the darker blue of the later cars. They got the right fuel filler cap. They've got the decals from the Trans France race all over it. This thing is perfect. They even did in this one, they designed special seats for Herbie that had a mesh on them. So the backseat driver could see through that mesh as they drove. And,
don't break it, man.
And this car, yep. And this car, which my cat knocked off the shelf and knocked the sunroof loose, and it was a heartbreaker for me when that happened. But this car features the diamond that is the MacGuffin of the movie, that the bad guys hide in Herbie, is under the hood of this car.
Wow, they killed it. They knocked it out of the park.
Like, they
You're right.
absolutely killed it with these cars, like down to the right Eagle GT radials on the tires. Everything about the car is true to the movie. And they did the same thing with the A-Team van. They've done a few other cars, and it's this really weird bit of Hot Wheels that not a lot of people know about, because it's, first of all, it's 1/18th, and it's super detailed, which neither of those things are what people necessarily think of when they think of Hot Wheels. Like, they think of fast and wild designs, and we're going for the idea of speed and accuracy. It some of them are there, some of them are not, like the little 164 version, but these 1/18 scales are like, I read up on them because I was like, these are purpose-built castings. They didn't just say, hey, we've got a VW Beetle casting. Johnny Lightning did a 1/18 scale of several of the different movie versions, including the Herbie Goes Bananas version. They had a 67 Beetle casting, and they made it look as close they could. But but like, these were purpose-built castings for Herbie, and I thought that was incredible. So I thought that was very cool. So those are mine in a very long story long version. And I know we're going to wrap things up because we got a really awesome interview coming up with the legendary Fireball Tim Lawrence. And I will give you a little bit of a teaser about what's to come in the form of this other beautiful 1/18th scale vehicle that, if you're listening, has a beautiful sliding open cockpit and rotating machine guns. And I think we all know what this vehicle is. It's one of the most recognized vehicles on the planet, but we're going to talk about it and a whole lot more when we come back. So stick around.
Don't touch that dial. Diecast Breakdown will be right back after these messages.
This episode of Diecast Breakdown is brought to you by you. That's right. We are 100% viewer and listener supported, and we are so grateful for those of you who have already supported the podcast and the shows we're planning to add to the Diecast Media Network family. You can find out more about how to support this project by visiting diecastmedianetwork.com or email us about sponsoring an episode at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. The best way you can support what we're doing right now, though, is to subscribe and share these episodes with your family, friends, and Facebook groups. Anyone you think would enjoy what we're doing. Any extra attention we can get early on will go a huge way in helping this project grow. Thank you so much for sharing this journey with us.
Diecast Breakdown would like to thank Diecast Heroes Magazine for supporting this program. Diecast Heroes Magazine is the premier digital and print resource just for diecast customizers. Visit diecastheroes.com and see what the best customizers in the world are up to. And now, the thrilling conclusion of this week's episode of Diecast Breakdown.
I've talked with Tony and Carmen, and now we are welcoming another member of the Diecast Heroes family to our show. Fireball Tim Lawrence has a resume that is longer than my arm. He's got an IMDb page that's longer than my arm, let alone his list of accomplishments. He's got over 50 book titles published. He is the design director for the Murphy Auto Museum. He is the president of the Halos and Heroes Foundation, benefiting children who have lost parents to war. And he is the host of This Is My Ride. It has about 50 episodes up on YouTube right now. So, Fireball Tim Lawrence, thank you so much for being on the show today.
My pleasure. I'm exhausted at just that intro.
I know, right? It's like notes. So we're all doing our homework beforehand.
Yeah.
Okay, so many notes. We are so excited. We are talking this episode of Hollywood Diecasts. We're talking about Wild Customs, and it just seemed like a perfect fit to have you on the show. So,
Sure.
Big things here, because you have got, like I said, a lengthy history. So let's start at the beginning, which is a very good place to start. So let's talk about where Diecasts introduced.
Wow, that's a good question. I think my farthest memory I can remember, I was going to a school called Montessori, which is probably pre-first grade, if I recall. I grew up in a town called Rolling Hills here in LA. And across the street from the school was a tiny little general store, in the most epitome general store that you can imagine. You walk in and it has everything. There's no way to walk in and say, oh, this store sells just these things. It was that kind of really awesome general store. And they had Matchbox cars there that were in the box. And my mom said that if I had a really good day, and I guess it means I didn't get in trouble, then we could walk across the street on the way to the car and we could go pick up a Matchbox. And the car, I probably got a few of them, but one of them was a Ford GT40, a white one with blue stripes on it. And I knew that we were going to go to Canada. We had a trip coming up for summertime. She said, you can take one car with you. And I said, well, I want a new car. So that was my first negotiation. And she bought that car for me. And I literally still have that car today. It's on display at the Murphy Museum, at our museum in Oxnard. And it's at one point, I don't recall ever doing this, but I took a Sharpie to it and made it all black because I didn't want a white car. That's my
customizer.
Yeah, that's my oldest memory of customization. Originally, my collection grew exponentially, primarily Hot Wheels, Matchbox, Corgis, and Dinkies, which I liked a lot because they had little things that you could lose, all the cones and stuff you could lose. And then at one point, I think in late 70s, my brother got mad at me for some reason, something I did. And he took all of my cars, and we were having a garage sale, and he sent me into town to go get lunch for everybody. And he sold all my collection of everything that I had, except that one car, which I still had for some reason. So I had to start all over. And
cold.
It was super painful. As you guys know, losing something like that. I also had my dad was a writer, producer in television, and he did a movie called Elvis with Kurt Russell. And one of the guitars that they used was Elvis's original guitar. And they gave that to me, and my brother sold that too for $50.
Wow.
That's painful. That is.
Like you guys probably, it was a part of your built-in software, just the love of Diecast and the idea that, and my favorite thing was we had a big olive tree, and I would just play with those cars. And I had to go with each car. I had to go from one location to the next, and that was it. I had to drive each one. And I cleaned out all the leaves, and it had all these great root systems. So I would drive each car, and I would do that almost every day. And I couldn't imagine not being able to play with my cars. It was just an amazing experience. Something that is inherent, built in you, and you don't need really anybody else to do it with. You could do it all day long.
To me, that sounds like the chicken or the egg. Do you think little boys gravitate toward cars first, or we appreciate cars later because of our Hot Wheels and our Matchbox?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know a lot of women that are huge car people,
Yeah.
car girls that are just enormous, and they love Diecast as much as I do. But what is strange is that no one in my family, I grew up in a family of 7 people, nobody cared about cars. I can't say that I was influenced by a family member, or I can't identify anything that got the ball rolling for me. I think that what I always appreciated what my mom was really good at was she always went out of her way to help me to stop for a moment and appreciate beautiful things. And part of that was design, is that we would stop and we'd look at something if we're, out and about in the town, and she'd go, look at that. Look at the way that they designed that room. Look at the way that tree looks. So she just had this great innate ability to swap my attention and focus on something. And I just loved car design. I just loved, from the earliest times, I carried a stack of index cards in my back pocket, and I would just draw a car, a side view or something of the car all day long. And I would sit in the back of class specifically so I could do that. So I could just draw. And I wanted to get to sent to detention so that I could spend an extra hour doodling and stuff. And
Absolutely.
And I still have them all in my closet, all my original sketches as a kid. And I still do the same thing. Nothing's really changed. I still doodle. I get to play with bigger cars, but it's pretty awesome.
Do you still get sent to detention sometimes by your wife, and you have to go to a different room and sketch cars? Or
Are you married?
Not
2
yet.
weeks. 2 weeks.
Kind of in detention all the time. Things aren't really worth it unless you're constantly like riding that knife edge.
That's right.
I'm married to an extraordinary woman that we've been together since 1990. So she's a design powerhouse. She builds mascot characters for all the Nintendo characters and all that stuff. So she's got an unbelievable history that's 10 times what mine is. So
Yeah, I saw she
Awesome.
just wrapped on Ellen's show.
yeah, she's built Ellen's Christmas mascots for the past 17 years. She built HR Puff and stuff. I don't know how old you guys are, but all the Nintendo characters through to the 2000s, we handled all of those characters, and I'm Super Mario, believe it or not. So I wore that costume in all the commercials, and it was an extraordinary time. So I think overall, if I had to pinpoint, it was really that I just have a tremendous passion for design. I went to Art Center College as a car designer. All of my friends are chief designers for car companies, Henrik Fisker, Frank Stevenson, just guys that really are really amazing concept. And Brian at Mattel, we're good friends, and we get a chance to talk about car design and talk about what the next set of Hot Wheels are. And it's just really amazing to be able to work with extraordinary people. And Carmen and Tony are certainly people that are that passionate. They have an incredible background in magazines and all that stuff.
Yeah, so let's talk about getting into design, because this is the part that's really fascinating for me. When did you take those 3x5 index cards and start saying, hey, this is what I want to do for?
Well, when I went to community college, and I didn't really know, what to do or where to go. And I just figured I'm going to take every art class I can think of and just try things out. When you go to high school, everyone's telling you what you got to do. When you go to community college, suddenly you decide what class you want to take. So you get to take a lot of the fun stuff. But I was in my second year and I was working at a bookstore over at the mall in Ventura. And I found Sid Mead's Sentinel book. If you guys are familiar with Sid, he had Hot Wheels done, and he's passed away now. But I was enamored at this book. I'd never seen anything like it. It was a conceptual positive future. Up until then, a lot of futuristic scenarios for movies and things like that were always negative, and Armageddon and destruction and all that stuff. And Sid painted these incredibly positive and blissful futures. And I had to meet this guy. I just said that, I got to find where this guy is and ask him, because I would love to have this be a part of my life. I'd love to learn how to do this. And I found out that he was living in LA. I didn't really know what I specifically wanted to do, but I loved what he did, and I wanted to get that good. I wanted to sell my soul to be extraordinary like that. And I went down to his place for a year. Every Friday morning, I would drive down and sit by his side and watch him paint and just ask him questions. And it was an incredible experience, because I found out about Art Center through him and decided to go. So I got rid of a lot of the classes I was taking that weren't pertinent, and focused on the GED and the stuff that I needed. And I went to Art Center, and as a transportation designer, I basically mirrored what he did much early on. He went to school in the 60s. So design, but I loved the idea of a positive future. I just, everybody I talked to, especially my dad, was always writing sci-fi, and he wrote original Twilight Zones and Outer Limits and all that stuff. But it was always how to be the good guy and the hero, and then there's got to be a bad guy, and there's this format that happens. But in reality, I loved Star Trek and a lot of that stuff, because they depicted our future as human beings positively, that we weren't going to kill ourselves and destroy ourselves. I was infatuated with that ideology. And so I went to school with the simple agenda that I was going to get good enough to be able to convey a positive future through what I did for a living. And then I got a job at Walt Disney Imagineering maybe about a year before I graduated, and got a chance to design the Indiana Jones ride, a New Tomorrowland, a lot of the sci-fi stuff. I did all the cars for Autopia, and anything that was automotive that I could, I did a lot of other things, but anything that was car-based, I loved doing. And then they booted us out after about 3 years, and we started our own business. That was about 1992, something like that. And then I went into commercials, doing storyboarding and learning to direct and all that stuff. And then I went subsequently into film, and I was focusing primarily on automotive design for film. And my first car was the Batmobile for the Michael Keaton film, which was in 1989. And I actually did that very early on, even when I was in school. I got paid $250, and I thought, I'm professional.
Yeah.
I got paid $250, And at that time, you didn't think anything was going to happen with it. You didn't think that was going to happen. You just thought, oh, this is really fun, right? And then I got a call about 8 months later, said, hey, check this out. And they sent me some photos of the actual car, and I'm like, my head exploded. And I said, okay, now I know which direction I'm going. So I just wanted to film and put my head down and just drew my ass off. And I ended up doing about 400 films, about 1,000 commercials over a 30-year period, something like that. Primarily vehicles, weapons, props. And then I think that the real success for me, for some people, it might be to go in the theater and watch the movie. A real success for me was to have one of those cars turned into a Hot Wheels. That was it. Right. So, George had, I grew up at George's shop, George Barris, and I learned a lot of stuff from him. And my dad actually hired him to build a car for an Elvis movie called Easy Come, Easy Go. So there's so many cars that have been done that should be diecast. And I spend every day thinking about how can I convince Brian to do some of these cars, right? The kind of the hidden gems. But, when you design something set to completion where you can go to the movies and you can watch it on screen, you can see how it was used. And then the true reward is to go to Target or something like that and to pick that thing off the shelf. And it's just, it's wow. We just did Comic-Con recently, and some guy walked up that I'd never met, and he goes, I got this at Target, and he showed me the Batmobile, and I was like, wow, that's, I don't know. For me, it's really exciting because I can see the whole picture from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's extremely rewarding. And, and that's my collection.
And you worked on Jurassic Park as well too, right? Like you had some, was it the Explorer that you worked on?
Yeah. And I did a lot of storyboarding, the Jurassic Park gate.
That's really cool.
Yeah. But a lot of boarding, a lot of it was, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Just different ways that dinosaurs can eat people. There was a lot of discussions about that. It's, how creative can we chow down on somebody? So,
on the toilet, apparently.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, there was a lot of humor in it, and anytime there was a car, all I thought in the back of my mind was, oh man, they better make a diecast out of this. Somebody better not screw up this movie, because there's so many ways you could screw up a movie.
Right.
Sure.
You have the best script and it doesn't matter because it's edited poorly, or it can have a terrible script and have a really good director. And, but as long as, in our business, the moniker is that the movie may suck, but the cars are always cool. So as long as if we get close enough, and I've done, a lot of movies, that we spent, 8 or 9 months on, and then the movie got shut down, like Plastic Man. We did that at Warner Brothers. And that was a great concept, a tremendous amount of design in that, a couple of cars, but the movie didn't get made. So, it's disappointing, but, hopefully you get on something that's fun.
For me, I always loved getting replicas of the cars I saw on TV. I grew up with, like I said, Smokey and the Bandit and Dukes of Hazzard and the original Batman and the Monkeys. I thought the Monkey Mobile was the coolest thing. And I know that was like a Dean Jeffries, George Barris kind of thing. And then when Johnny Lightning came out with the Hot Wheels collection in, I think it was like 96, 97, they started doing those. And I actually was able to get the replica Monkey Mobile.
Yeah.
I thought that was like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And I still have that one. I got it when I was, I think maybe 14 or 15. And I hung on to all of those ones, like that representation where a car becomes a character in the show, beyond things like Herbie the Love Bug is a classic example of that, but like the General Lee or the Bluesmobile or the Batmobile, or like those become characters in the film. So when you approach a project like that, what kind of goes through your head, the process of designing a car for a film?
You're thinking about, well, the Batmobile comes, it's parked in the Bat Cave. We want to do something that's huge, that's 25 feet long. Okay, that kind of gives you an idea of how big the Bat Cave has to be in order to do that. It's got to jump from one place to another. It's got to, there's several shots of people getting in and out of the car, so we got to figure out a way to get in and out without doors. It was designed and built initially without a way to get in the car. So, they actually had to, that whole pop top that slides forward, an afterthought. That wasn't something that was designed in the beginning. When I did the sketches, I didn't do, door cut lines and all that kind of stuff. It was purely conceptual. So, they had to figure all that stuff out. So, but when you get a script and you break it down, you just kind of determine everything it needs to do. And then you just start doodling. You start, coming up with, I tend to go, 3 or 4 different directions, 3 or 4 completely different themes. And a lot of times, something will gel with the director or the producer, whoever I'm working with. And they'll say, well, I really like the overall design language of this one, but I like some of the details of this one. Will start to merge. So you're kind of doing like this hourglass experience. You start here at one point and then you move your way out and you're exploring the whole 9 yards. And then you're starting to pull everything back in and you make your way to the top of the pinpoint, which is the final design. And cars are basically designed on 3 levels. Is that the first level is something you experience from maybe you're driving on the freeway and you see this red image go by and you go, it was a Corvette. No, it was a Ferrari. It's something is a supercar. Level 2 is something where you get up close and you start to see, okay, it's got 4 wheels. It's a 2-door. It's got the engine in the back. But the third level is what people mostly miss, especially when they're designing cars. And Henrik is a really, really sharp proponent of the third level of design. And that is the finite details that you can't see from 20 feet away. That, when you sit in the car and you see in the center of the original Fisker had a sandwiched leaf skeleton. So it's all these really interesting, tiny details that you experience. And what I like about Diecast is that there's a lot of guys that will do some broad strokes about, okay, we have a Ferrari and we have the Munster coach and we're going to merge them together and it's going to be this thing, right? But a lot of the guys, the ones that I really like are the ones that go to that third level to where they're using a single hair brush or they're doing pinstriping or they're doing stuff that's so fine that you have to look, you got to put your glasses on to look at this car to really see some of the detail that they've got hidden in all these little Easter eggs they've gotten hidden in there. And that person gets it. A lot of the girls and guys that build these things, they're just extraordinary. That the creative process is really what inspires everybody. You can't change people by telling them that they're wrong, but you can change them by you doing what you do the best of your ability. So when people send in their cars to Diecast Heroes, it's really hard to pick what's going to go in the magazine because there are so many incredibly talented people. Like I think one guy, I forget who it was, it sent in from the movie Mad Max had the Cadillacs stacked on top of each other with the big wheels in the back, and some guy did that as the Ecto 1. So with this Ghostbusters Ecto 1, and it was all nice and clean, but it was exactly like that you would never even think of putting together. And that creative process is very inspiring and very fun to watch. So it's a neat thing to be able to put together.
I'm curious now, like, what are some cars and movies that you didn't work on, but that you kind of raised your eyebrow and you really thought, man, they knocked that one out of the.
I kind of look at them like they're gorgeous ladies. You can't really say one's better than the other. It's really the application. So I'm interested to see how this next movie, The Batman, that comes out. A lot of people have really kind of crapped all over the Batmobile, but I think that, I reserve judgment until I actually either physically see the car in person or experience the car in the film as to why. The why is what's missing in a lot of cases. And when you look at a car, when you go to a car show, let's say you see a purple Challenger and you go like, it looks like crap. It's purple and blah, blah, blah. But when you sit next to the person and they say, yeah, my mom loved purple, and it just, the why suddenly starts to emerge. I've had experiences where I've gotten to go to the movies and see a Transformers movie and come out like, oh my God, that was crazy and all this stuff. Or you can go and you can sit with Michael Bay and you can see the movie, and then suddenly you have a completely different perspective about why things are done the way they are. Now, Tim Burton, this was the first Bat film just that came out of the series. The series was really how Batman was defined. And I think that he was perfect for this because he was dark. He was foreboding. Everything about Tim's movies had a slight comic edge, a slight quirkiness, but they were dark and they were a little uneasy. And I think that this movie sat well with people because it was kind of a first. It was kind of a film approach for something that redefined something that we were used to. It's like I was just playing around with some Adam 12 stuff and recently on Instagram, and if you did an Adam 12 movie now, you wouldn't want to capture that original series because people wouldn't be able to process it. So looking for those reinventions are kind of a challenge sometimes, and you got to listen from here versus from here about the approach. So if you want to put some diecast together, want to do something really unique, then go take a shower and wait for inspiration, because that's what works for me. Is if I can't think of something, I'll take a shower, I'll just like relax and just kind of let it go, and then suddenly I'll get this flood of ideas, and then bam, before I know it, you can see it. You can see the thing that you're searching for.
Yeah, I found that to be true as well, especially when I was building the car, the full-size car. Like, sometimes the best thing for you to do is to walk away.
Yeah.
And to get your mind on something else, because the more you can fixate on it, it's good to a point, but then all of a sudden your brain starts running out of ideas because your brain goes, okay, it could only work this way. And you're going, well, that way is literally impossible. There's no way I could make the car do this, or I could add this kind of steering gear or change the suspension this way. And then the take a shower is perfect. Like that is where I get a lot of my best ideas. It's waking up at 4:00 in the morning and scribbling something down on a notebook paper because I was dreaming something really cool, and coming back the next day and being like, who wrote this? Yeah. And you're like, oh, I'm glad I wrote it down.
Well, it's
so yeah.
The Hot Wheels, the Hot Wheels are selling 1 million units a day. There's so many cars that are being pumped out, new stuff that is feeding the population of enthusiasts like us, and to be able to watch what's coming down the pike, and it's much more rapid pace than the car companies. But the reason I like movies is because we don't have any parameters, we don't have any limitations. There's been so many Batmobiles that have been done at this point, and these are friends of mine that have done this. Nathan Crowley did the Tumbler, and the Tumbler was inspired by a Lamborghini of all cars. And of course, there's fan art for all kinds of Batmobiles have been done. It's just, they're fun to look at, and that's primarily my collection of Hot Wheels, is that I collect movie cars in any way, shape, or form, and it's amazing how many they've produced. But I appreciate the sentiment. It's certainly, it was a long time ago. I mean, but each one inspires the next. So even whether it's Gone in 60 Seconds or Austin Powers, those cars have to kind of go through the same process.
Yeah, the Gone in 60 Seconds Mustang is that's another one that's just so iconic. And at the time was really a wild look, because that was like 1999. The resto mod thing wasn't that common yet. I remember just being like frozen looking at that car, because it looked like a 67 Shelby GT500. And I know it wasn't really a 67 GT500, but it had that proper look, but at the same time, the stance was just a little bit different, and the headlights were just a little bit different, and it had that cool bump on the hood, the wheels that were just a little bit larger than they normally would be. That was just such an amazing car.
That's really hard to do. Everyone thinks that they can somehow improve a classic. It's really hard to take a 69 Bullitt Mustang and improve it, or to take a Packard and redesign a modern version of it. That's not an easy thing, because those cars were not designed or inspired by other cars necessarily. Those cars were inspired by, something that comes from within us. And you see those shapes in your mind, and then you try to convey those shapes down onto paper. But, when in doing a car like that, I tend to enjoy doing comical versions. The cars that we did for Austin Powers were extreme, ridiculous, kind of funny looking cars, and they had to be. So design language is limitless when it comes to movie cars and when it comes to Hot Wheels, because they can turn a rat into a car, they can turn a dinosaur into a car, or an orange. Your creativity is limitless, and with that, you really have to push really far to come up with something that is truly creative. Like, in movies, I could pitch a movie idea to you guys and you would instantly be able to visualize what this movie would be. I could say it's I Love Lucy meets Raiders of the Lost Ark. And right away you go like, oh yeah, I kind of have an idea what that movie would be like and the nonsense that would happen in that. And movies are pitched that way. And Hot Wheels are kind of pitched that way as well, is that, how do you take, especially with customizers, how do you take that rat car and then mix it with the Batmobile and come up with a Ratmobile or something? That kind of creative process is pretty fun to watch.
Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Tony and Carmen and Superfly Auto and Diecast Heroes ultimately.
A number of years ago, they traveled a lot. They, went to Japan and they, part of their action plan was to travel the world and to see car culture in all of its different corners of the world. And they ended up here. I'm in Malibu, California, and they ended up, perusing through LA, and I don't recall exactly how they heard about me, but we hooked up, spent quite a bit of time together. I showed them a lot of different places that we hang out. We're in the hotbed of car culture here. So, we have our own museum, but we also, the Petersons here, there's a number of built houses you can walk right in, and there's Batmobiles and all kinds of shit that are sitting there. There's tiny little car museums that are Nash Metropolitans. And then of course there's private collections, and I have a lot of friends that have pretty extraordinary collections of cars. So, we just got talking and they did a bunch of photo shoots for Superfly. And when it came time for them to do Diecast Heroes, they wanted to have the magazine have a unique look and have something that kind of merged a little bit of Hollywood design style mixed with the diecast. And I thought it'd be fun to work with them because they're amazing people and really super easy to work with. So we got together doing that. We also did the Superfly coloring book, which was pretty cool. And which featured 20 people from all over the world and their customs, and then doing sketches for those customs was pretty neat. So it's not so much a challenge as it is that the creative process is coming up with each individual issue, but it's inspired by a lot of what Hollywood does. So we have science fiction issues coming. We have a lot of different aspects of Hollywood design that we get to play with. And I've never really worked. I've worked with a lot of people that are not necessarily that fun to work with, but Tony and Carmen are pretty awesome. They're very easygoing and they love cars as much as we do. So it made for a good partnership.
Fireball, on your IMDb, you've got a quote on there that hit home today when I read it. You take the first step and the next step will be revealed to you. And that here we are, we're taking the step, and full credit to Chuck. He has this vision, and I think this podcast is going to be something really special. And I hope we do spawn other podcasts, because there are so many different perspectives out there that we'd love to hear.
Yeah, you gotta be the change. If you guys think that this community needs a podcast, then just be the most badass diecast podcast that there is, and people will naturally want to do what you're doing in a different way, and your support system is very important. Having us on, having Tony and Carmen, myself, we'll get Mike Zarnock, we'll get Larry Wood. All these guys want to talk about this stuff. They love this stuff in the same way that we do, right? Talk about a talented person. Larry is Mr. Hot Wheels, sure, and Mike is Mr. Variation,
right?
But these guys love this stuff. They live and breathe it every day, and there's nothing better than talking about what you're passionate about. But it is a leap of faith. That's where that quote comes from.
Yep.
So it's not meant to be easy.
We were just talking about basically inspiration. So I was digging into some of your YouTube videos. The one thing that made me laugh and brought me back to my childhood is I wanted you to explain to us what inspired the windbreaker design. I don't know if that pops into your mind from the Big Book of Wacky Rides, because that book is so cool. So it's basically a fart-powered car, but that book was something that I would really love as a kid. And these kind of books and these kind of things that inspire people to be creative is what fuels the future for more Batmobiles to come and more customizers. Because in this podcast that we're doing, I'm looking, the reason I started doing podcasts and why we're doing this is to inspire others to do great things, basically. Yeah. What inspired you to make that book, your love for kids, and to inspire kids?
That's an easy one to answer, because the books that I grew up with were Richard Scarry's books. They were Cars and Trucks and Things That Go.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of animals being with cars but his books were as dense as they were, that you could spend hours just looking at all the fun little things. I thought there needs to be a high concept version of this. And the windbreaker was actually based on the Mrs. O'Leary's cow, that burned down.
Oh, that's right.
Chicago.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's also positioned in the book that you open it up and you go right past that page. Most people, I've gotten emails going, "Oh, the book is great. They love this." And I said, "Well, did you see the windbreaker?" And they're like, what is that? They had no idea it was even there. It's that kind of conceptual thinking. I think that we are, if you're in a position to inspire through what you love, then it should be your responsibility to do so. My show, Art Talk in the mornings, I decided to do that show. It's on Facebook Live. I decided to do that show because I realized that there's a hidden secret within all of us that a lot of people miss, and people want to be successful, that they don't know how. They don't, as creative people. A lot of people come and watch the show thinking I'm going to give them techniques on how to draw with markers or something. And Art Talk is really a understanding the creative process within ourselves, so they can manifest the things that we love. We can manifest a bigger diecast collection, or a car that we want to build, or a home, or a relationship, or whatever it is that we want to jump into. The problem that people have is they get in their own way. They convince themselves that,
they can't do it.
Yeah, they set out the rules like, "Oh, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be this, going to be that." They start putting all these roadblocks in front of themselves and just say, don't put all that in front. Just do it. It doesn't matter. It just comes down to believability. If you would like to have a collection like Bruce Pascal, have the biggest car collection that there is, but you convince yourself, but it's going to be expensive, so I'm not going to do it. That's the kiss of death. Right out of the gate, you're cutting your own throat. So people have to understand, you just have to take the first step. And the first step might be get off your ass, go to Walmart and buy one car, for the collection, and just set the goal. And the next step will be revealed. It'll come to you. The inspiration will come. And success is not a monetary value, because you can be in a hospital bed and be sick as a dog and have $1 billion. That,
right.
Money's important, but I think what is really important is for us to be happy consistently and be present. And the bottom line, what Diecast does for me is it keeps me in the moment. The hunt is in the moment. The sharing is in the moment. Your collection of staring at it and going like, what do I need? It's all in the present. And that's a creative process. And it's no different than making a burger for your wife for dinner, or working on your car at home in your garage. It's present moment activity, and the seed of creativity is in that moment. And that's something that people need to grasp. They need to understand that if they can stay present and they can stay doing the things that they love, then they will have a happy life. Happiness is not something to chase. It's something to experience now. And that's what I love about Hot Wheels and Diecast.
Well said.
Very well said. I've got another question. I think it's important for you, that your favorite automotive designer of all time. Who would that be? Like, who inspired you the most when it came to the creativity, the body lines from an automotive designer standpoint?
Probably Sid Mead. I think Sid was one of the greatest conceptual visionaries of our time. There's a lot of great designers out there, but there's very few that there are the impetus that Tom Peters, who worked for General Motors, he created the cab forward concept, the Pontiac Banshee. No one had ever seen anything like that before. Hajime Soriyama, not necessarily an automotive designer, but these are people that put on paper something that you've never experienced. And the goal for me as a designer is certainly we get influenced and we get inspired by things, but you want to create up something that people will look at and gasp and say, I've never seen that before. And in my position, I'm fortunate to have experienced that twice, is to be able to do the car, hopefully, and then be able to go to the movie and see how it's used, right? So that you like that character. And that's the beauty of movie cars, is that we all love the Back to the Future DeLorean because of where we were at the time that we saw it. And that we love that character in the same way that we love Dwayne Johnson in movies. You know, we all have our favorite actors or actresses, and we have our favorite cars.
I think the stories behind some of these designers are amazing too. For me, it's Peter Brock is my favorite designer. I got to meet him, hear his story, and it's just, wow, this guy's a humble guy. He's designed, what he was, the Daytona. He's involved in the Chevy Daytona and the split window Corvette. And then
he's the only guy that ever scared the absolute crap out of me.
Yeah, I believe it.
I was driving a Camaro and one of our shows, because This Is My Ride is our new show, but I had another vlog that went on about 1,000 episodes, and we shot with him, and he put him in the driver's seat. I said, I gotta let you drive, man. What am I doing? Right. So I was going to interview him, and I didn't say a word other than nearly crap my pants. It was, he took that like he had been driving it for 100 years.
Yeah.
And, he's an amazing guy, amazing designer. Absolutely correct.
Truly is. Yeah. Truly amazing guy. Just was able to talk to him for about, close to an hour next to my Datsun at a car show. And he was just like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Whose car is this? And I was like, that's mine. And I'm like, yeah, that's mine. So this guy's seen a million Datsun 510. Mine's a 69 two-door, and I spent a lot of time and money on that thing. But he's, wow, this thing is amazing. I'm like, this guy's seen a million 510s. He really inspired me to step my game up just in go out there and get it, because I'm like, this guy's done a lot in his life. He won world championships in hang gliders. I don't know if you knew that, but he went off and did hang gliding, built these hang gliders.
And by the way, I'm a championship hang glider.
Right.
Yeah, he designed these hang gliders for these hippies out in the dunes. Oh. They're just like floating down on these makeshift hang gliders, and I can make a better hang glider than that. So he comes back the next day, makes all these materials to make this thing so much better, and I can sell these to you guys for a nominal fee. And they're like, no, man, this is free. We don't want that. Get out of here. And so he went off and won world championships for hang gliding. It makes you think about, what have I done? Like, not that success in life matters the most, but are you doing what you really want to do and your full potential? Yeah. And hearing people that are passionate about that and humble too. I think the biggest thing is people like Jay Leno, that what I've heard from him is a very humble guy.
Yeah.
And
very much.
You don't run into a lot of people like that.
You don't.
I think that's pretty cool.
And, we all get the same amount of time on the planet. As far as during the day, we all get 24 hours. But you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do with it? And a lot of it, the grand shift that happens, I think, as you get older, is that you go from a life of getting to a life of giving. Yeah. And you get enough money to pay your bills, get enough, time to travel and all this stuff. And when you stop putting yourself forward and you start putting other people forward, and you start giving from the sense of expansion, of being, of advancing, then your life suddenly takes a grand twist. And that's what I got to say thank you to you guys, because you guys are giving this podcast to people. But through that giving process, then many great things come, opportunities come. And even if the opportunity is to talk to interesting people and to learn stories and be inspired, take that home and apply that to your own life, then,
that's really where this came from, was me being curious about other builders and customizers and where these cars come from. The stories like this are what we want to tell, and that's why we're so excited to have you on. I know we're over time here. I had a bunch more questions for you, but I want to be respectful. Yeah, we would love to have you back. We've got a lot of material to cover in the world of diecast. It's just, I think Mark said it on our first episode, it's vast, and the more we dig into it, the more we find, and we are just tickled to death to talk to you today. We would absolutely love to have you back on and talk more. But again, thank you so much for coming on. Again, just so everybody knows, let people know how they can find you, follow you, all that sort of stuff.
The website is fireballtim.com. Most of the updates are there. All of our coloring books are available on Amazon. You type in Fireball coloring books. We also have an Etsy store, which has the books and automotive art. And then we have a store on TeePublic, which is, the standard swag and mugs, movie car art and all that kind of stuff. So, we're just trying to have a good time. So far, so good.
It really shows in what you do. Your coloring books are beautiful. I've got a couple coming in, some for me and some we're going to give to some lucky listener. And awesome. We've got the magazines are beautiful. I can see your fingerprints through just about every page of the magazine. So check it out. We can't thank you enough. An absolute pleasure. Take care. Godspeed. We look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Fireball. Later, man.
Okay.